What's up, people? What's up, good people? I'm coming in about a minute early so that I can get myself acclimated and not have to worry about all of the different mechanical mechanisms. But I'm gonna get started in a minute, and we're gonna jump right into it. Right into it. I'm coming in about a minute early so that I get myself acclimated. Sorry about that. I had to turn off the video, the audio. Starting in 1 minute, and we coming in hot. All right. Hey y'all, how y'all doing? Um, we are jumping right into it. I am um, doing the book review for His Leadership Here Trust 10th anniversary book review. Um, as you saw the title, the key leadership secret most husbands overlook or either never do. That's what we're going to be talking about today. Um, Everything that I have that we've discussed up until this point has been about leadership and about how you begin the process of creating a organizationally structured leadership relationship, organizationally structured relationship, and how to prepare yourself to carry that out with all the roles and responsibilities that that are encumbered therein. Now we're going to jump right into how to do it. I'll be teaching you how to do that. We talked about what it takes before and what is needed. Now we're going to talk about how. So if you're watching this for the first time, my name is Heath Wiggins. I am a relationship consultant. I have been a relationship consultant for 25 years. I've worked with couples and singles to try to help them improve the communication, trust, and leadership in their relationships. My wife and I have been married for 27 years. Our anniversary is in 2 days. So 27 years. And we have been working with couples in our business, doing this thing with, in various different ways over these decades. Right now, we're doing a podcast, the Heath and Bernie Show. I'm taking time out from that so that we can do this book review of which is the 10th anniversary of the book that I wrote, His Leadership Her Trust. 4 steps to become a Christian man a woman trusts, respects, and actually wants to follow. It's on Amazon, or you can get it on my website, His Leadership Her Trust. So that's who I am. If you're joining me for the first time, thank you. I have recorded 3 other videos that have covered chapters 1 through 4. Right now, today we're going to be going over chapter 5. And chapter 5 is going to be rich. It's going to be a lot of stuff. That's why I'm not going to have time to do a quick review of the 4 chapters that I've done previously. I've done that in the past, but I don't have time to do that today. So we're just going to jump right into it. So this next segment, part 2, is going to go over the leadership model that I have taught and trained for when I wrote this book 10 years ago. There are 4 sequential steps to this leadership model: initiate, communicate, execute, and check in. Typically, I would leave it for suspense, but I'm telling you what they are up front so that you'll know, because it's important for you to get an understanding of what they are, and I'm going to go in detail through each one of them to explain what they mean and how you execute them. So in order for this model to be valid and repeatable, It just can't be about my opinion, about what I think or what I feel or my experience. My experience is included, but it can't just be about my experience or what I've done over the last 27 years of my marriage. It has to be based upon research. So I did research. I did research over 100 years of research in leadership theory. I did a lot of research in biblical theology. I did a lot of research in psychological and the behavioral sciences, in organizational leadership theory and leadership structure. I did research on neurological science because that's a big factor in this. And then I did research on marriage and family therapy practices and principles. And I combined that with my 27 years of experience of having a successful marriage and my 25 years of working with couples. And I am doling this out to you all in a way that is digestible so that you can understand and learn what leadership should look like in marriage. And so let's get started with the leadership theory that kind of anchors this this theory. And I wish I had my water bottle because I don't. I don't have a water bottle, but if I need some water, I'm gonna have to step away for a second. Okay, so I'm gonna be going quickly because, well, I'm not gonna be going quickly. I'm gonna be moving rapidly because I got a lot of information to cover and I don't want this to be a long video. So let's start with the leadership theory that anchors this. In the first, I think, first video in chapter 2 of my book, I talk about leadership, the concept of leadership. And what I discussed is over the years of leadership, when leadership first was being studied in the 1920s, and that's the first origins of when it was being studied, from like the 1870s to the 1920s is when leadership was beginning to be studied. They've really focused on specific frameworks of what leadership was or how leadership presented itself in society. And every year, every decade rather, after the 1920s, there was a new theory of leadership that presented itself to be possibly considered. And it's kind of debunked the previous year's leadership theory that was the theme at the time. So in the 1920s, there was the great man leadership theory. And that great man leadership theory focused on leaders are born. You have born leaders. And they studied a lot of heroic figures. And they really focused on the innate qualities of leaders and the things that they did. In the 1930s to the 1940s, that theory was debunked by the trait leadership theory. And these were the gentlemen that kind of spearheaded those leadership theories at the time. They weren't the only ones that did it, but their research was seminal research that founded the underarching principle for which the other leadership theories were developed. But in the 30s and 40s, the trait leadership theory was introduced, and that's focused on the inherent traits that individuals have, like what qualities do leaders have. So if you have these qualities, then you are considered a leader, or you have the potential to be a leader. Or these are the qualities that good leaders possess. And so if you got these qualities, then there's a possibility that you could possibly lead. In the 1950s, that's when the leadership shifted and was debunked. It debunked the previous decade's leadership, and they talked about behavioral and group leadership research. And that's kind of where the leadership from the principles from this book pick up, because in the group and behavioral and group leadership theory, they researched and focused on what leaders do within groups and organizations, rather than the previous decade's research, which studied traits. And why that's important for relationships, because as I discussed in detail in the previous videos, please go check them out, especially the first video. That talked about the difference between a group structured relationship and a organizationally structured relationship. Just for you, if you didn't hear that, a group structured relationship is, or a group is two or more people that identify that they are together. There's common unity amongst the two of them, or the multiple group of them. And that's all. They agree that they're together and they interact with one another that way in society. An organization is a group of two or more people that identify they're together. there's a common goal that they have, and then there's different roles and responsibilities that lead toward that common goal. So you have a group, which is just two people that are together. And we talked about in the video, if you're dating someone or if you're married to someone and you are in a group structured relationship, then you don't have any common goals. You're just together. Y'all just dating. You're just kicking it. You're just a vibe. You're just seeing what it is. And there's no goal that you set for yourself. And if you have a organization, and likewise, you don't have any roles and responsibilities that lead toward that goal because there is no goal. Then if you're in a organizationally structured relationship, then there's like something that you're working toward. We're working toward marriage. We're working toward building a family. We're working towards something that you've identified that we are going to both achieve together as we are still united as a group. And then there's different roles that each of you have toward that accomplishment of that goal. So the research that happened in the 50s, that's what identified the different dynamics and interactions that were held together by these two professors, George Hammonds and John Hemphill, who had some very interesting research that I want to delve into. So step one is initiate. George Hammonds, he was the first to study actions, relationships, and beliefs of small groups. He was the founder of the behavioral sociology and formed the president of the he was the former president of the Sociological Association. He was a leading leadership theorist of the day. He researched small groups. He found that the people who were in those groups, who originated the interaction of the groups, that person was the leader. So if you initiated the group, you said, hey, let's come together, let's talk about this thing, let's get together and let's study this project, let's get together and let's try to solve this problem, that person was the leader. That's what that research in the 50s identified. He identified a leader of a group is the one who originates the interaction of the group. John Hemphill, he was a psychologist in Ohio State University in leadership studies. Now, John Hemphill, he did not study leadership. He was a psychologist, and he helped identify two main dimensions of leadership behavior. He helped identify initiating structure in task-oriented projects and the concept of consideration in relationship-oriented relationships. And he identified a leader is the one who initiates structure in the interaction as part of the process of solving a mutual problem. He initiates or she initiates structure in an interaction, as part of the process for solving a mutual problem. And initiating structure is just another term for defining roles and responsibilities of members within that group. Remember, I talked about an organization, you have a common goal, you have different roles and responsibilities. So initiating structure is the task or the aspect of defining those roles and responsibilities. So the person who initiates that group, that person has the potential to initiate those roles and responsibilities. And what John Hempfield's leadership did, his research did, is he connected the two, that you can initiate structure and you have to initiate the roles, and then that person is the leader within that organization. And then there was another bit of research that took place. Roger Stogdill, he was a psychologist in Ohio State, and he authored the Handbook of Leadership, a survey of theory and research. He was the professor emeritus of management science and psychology at Ohio State and was an internationally known researcher and scholar on leadership. Now, what he introduced was that the one who maintains the roles within that group is actually the leader. Now, this was an important part. And if you saw the title of the thumbnail, it was initiate and then do something else. If the person who's the leader initiates and does something else. But Roger Stogdill, he connected the initiating of roles and responsibilities with maintaining those roles and responsibilities. Have you ever been in a situation where you were in organization or you were in a relationship and there was someone who originated the organization? They put it together, they called it together, and they said, okay, I'm going to do this, you're going to do that, or there were roles identified and you picked up those roles and became one of those persons. And then that person kind of fell back and then did not take the leadership anymore. If they did not maintain those roles. Well, what Ralph Stockdale said was that if you initiate those roles, that's good, but you have to maintain them. You have to maintain them. So what does this look like in the concept of working in relationships? So let's go back and let's say that you're starting a relationship or you're interested in somebody, or let's say as a man, you're interested in somebody and you're looking for someone to start a relationship with. And you say, okay, can I take you out on a date? Can I get your number? I don't know how they do now. They probably do something very technical. I mean, technology based now. But let me get your number. Let me get your IG. Let me, swipe left, right, whatever. And so that person originates that initiates that kind of uh, relational advance. And then you say, okay, can we go on a date? Then you start dating. And then you want to take it to the next level. So you want to say, hey, I want to be exclusive. Or do you want to be exclusive? I think we should be exclusive. Are you seeing anybody? No, I'm not seeing anybody. So why don't we consider being exclusive? So we're going to be boyfriend, girlfriend now. So now whoever started that conversation initiated that role. You initiated that role of boyfriend, girlfriend, and with that role came certain responsibilities. And those responsibilities were the responsibilities that you both considered and laid out as, okay, we're not going to see anybody else. We're going to, give each other this amount of time per day, per week. We're going to respond to our text messages and phone calls within this amount of time. If you don't have that boyfriend, girlfriend role, then these responsibilities are not on your plate. But now that you have entered into that space, now you have that role. So when we do our relationship consulting and we work with couples, either with you're dating or you're doing premarital counseling, whatever we do, what I listen for is who initiated the roles, who initiated the relationship, and who initiated the roles in the relationship. And I can clearly tell that based on who is talking and who says what it is that they should do or should not do. And typically what I'll hear is somebody say, well, we're going to do this. Well, I was under the expectation that we was going to do this. Well, I thought we were going to do this, that, and the third. And the other person was like, well, I didn't know that. That's not what I kind of agreed to. What it said to me is that person who was thinking that they were going to do all these things, that person was initiating the roles. That person was initiating the roles, the responsibilities that they were going to have in the relationship. And when you see those roles initiated and then there's no follow through, that's what we look for. We look for the follow through, like who's following through with their roles. Because if the person who initiates that role is not maintaining it, then that person has abdicated their leadership. That person is not leading the relationship anymore. And it's a struggle because when you don't know who's supposed to be leading, then it's like up in the air. It's like whoever takes the lead is the one who has command of it. And that's okay in the beginning. And there's a difficulty when you have those kind of roles and there's ambiguity about them. And so that's why having the conversation about what the different expectations are and basically roles and responsibilities are when you are in a relationship is necessary. But when you have those roles established and then you pull back away from them, then you lose that mantle of leadership. What do my notes say? If there's problem, so whenever these problems occur, if there are problems, and that usually produces conflict, that conflict is actually good. That conflict is actually necessary because you need that conflict to identify what's not working. A lot of people don't know. A lot of people get mad because there's conflict existing in their relationship. You should not get mad because there's conflict in your relationship. If you don't have conflict, that's actually a red flag because that means that everybody's going along with whatever the leader is establishing. And there's no pushback to make sure that your needs are addressed in this scope of the relationship. But when there's conflict, that identifies what issues need to be addressed, and it actually helps you identify and address those specific issues. And when we work with couples, that's what we focus on. We focus on what is the conflict creating, what is the conflict bubbling up to the top, and then how can we address those issues. It identifies the issues that need to be addressed. Yeah, okay. So if step one, initiating. If you're initiating roles and responsibilities and don't follow up, then to some it feels like you're putting them to work, and it's not a partnership. Let me read that again. If you initiate the roles and responsibilities and don't follow up, meaning that you don't maintain those roles, then to some it feels like you're putting them to work, and it's not a partnership. The person in the relationship who provides leadership is responsible for initiating the roles and responsibilities and accomplishing a mutual goal and maintaining them. That is the person who is responsible for leadership. And the reason why I'm saying that is because you have to have the roles identified and be the one who's maintaining them in order to be the leader. Now, whether it's a woman, whether it's a man, that's up for debate. That's basically up to your relationship. Whoever's leading that relationship. I'll talk about why it should be the man later on in this video. But whoever's doing that person is the one who's leading. But if that person falls back and stops leading, then they have abdicated that role responsibility for leadership. And so let me go to my book, because I have a verse here I want to read, not a verse, section here I want to read. It's on page 105 in chapter 5 of my book, His Leadership Her Trust. And it says, according to Dr. Bernard Bass, the most influential leader in leadership research, maintaining roles consists of maintaining standards, meetings, deadlines, and deciding what will be done and how. Maintaining roles involves a leader establishing clear patterns and lines of communication that facilitate, not impede, the task being accomplished. Individuals who initially create roles but then hesitate to take initiative, make suggestions only when asked, or let other members of the group pursue a goal the way they think best, lose that mantle of leadership to the one who can better guide the group in solving a problem or achieve a goal. So it basically just underwrites what it is that I'm saying about maintaining the role of leadership and maintaining the roles and responsibilities in the relationship. You cannot consider yourself a leader if you set things up and then you walk away. There's a couple that I was the couple that I know we worked with, and one of the complaints was that the leader, the husband, was setting up what needed to be done, but he wasn't providing any further direction to her so that she could actually do the assignment, do the thing that they were trying to do together. They were trying to start something new, a business of some sort. And he would say, do this, do this, do this, do this. And then he would walk away and expect it to be done, but he wasn't following up. He wasn't providing any kind of assistance, any kind of guidance. And she felt like, I'm trying to help you, but you're not leading me. Her exact words were, you're not leading me properly. And he didn't understand. And what I understood when working with him is that he was not maintaining that role of initiating the roles and responsibilities, initiating structure. He was just giving orders. And that's why I talked about it doesn't feel like a partner. It feels like you're putting that person to work because you're giving orders and expecting them to execute like you're the boss. That doesn't feel right. That doesn't feel right. But what if you don't know how to accomplish the goal? How do you initiate the roles and responsibilities and maintain them? That's a good question. What you need to do is you need to know the scope of the common goal. You need to know the scope of the common goal. The scope is the combined objectives and requirements needed to accomplish a project. This is going back to my project management days. That's my background in project management, IT project management specifically. The term is often used in project management. Properly defining the scope of a project allows managers to estimate costs and the time required to finish the project. In project management, this triangle represents, and it's not relationally based, but it's project management based, but I wanted to include it in here because I thought it was very helpful. This triangle represents the three, it's called many different things: a project management triangle, a time cost matrix, whatever. But the basic context of it is you have the quality of a product that you want. So and an example that I use in the book is painting a room. So you don't necessarily have to know exactly how to paint the room or everything that goes into painting the room, but you do have to know, like, okay, what color do I want the room to be? Do I want all four walls painted? When am I going to have this done? How much I want to spend to have this room painted? Those basic things you can know. Now, all the other details about what kind of paint, if you get eggshell, you want satin, you want a gloss or semi-gloss, or which store do you get at? You get the fancy paint at like Sherman-Williams, or you just go to Home Depot or Lowe's and get that regular paint. So all those details, you don't need to know all that. But if you just know the basics, then that will get you started. And this triangle was really helpful to me when I was learning project management, and also when I was trying to figure out how to do things, because at the top you have the quality, on the corners you have the time, and then you have the cost, the quality, time, and cost. And the rule is you only can get two of the three. You only can get two. You cannot have all three. You cannot have a high quality, quick time, and low cost. You cannot get all three. You only can get two. So if you, depending upon how high quality you want the walls painted in your living room, if you want it done fast, then it's gonna, and you want it done high quality, then it's gonna cost you money because you're gonna have to hire professionals to come in there and do it. Or if you want it done high quality, but you don't have that much money, then it's gonna take you more time because you're gonna need to do it yourself, and you're gonna need to go slowly. And that's across the board in anything. Whatever the degree of quality that you want, it's either going to cost you more time or more money, and you can't have them both. So in a relationship, when you are trying to solve a problem, or you're trying to figure out what is the scope of what it is that I want to do, or let's say you want to go on a vacation, or let's say you want to do anything that's related to a task oriented in your relationship, to focus on not having all the answers, especially as a leader. You don't have to have all the answers. You just have to know, okay, do I want it to be done quickly at an expensive cost so that it can be a high quality, or do I want it done slowly at a lower cost because we don't have that much money and it's going to take more time? And then what goes into that? And that's when you go to your partner and you say, hey, this is what I was thinking. We have this amount of money, we have this amount of time. Let me get your thoughts on how we can do this. And then as a leader, you are initiating the discussion, the structure, the discussion about what it is that is going to be done about this task-oriented project about painting a room. It's not like what I've heard some men do, like you just whatever, just tell me what you want, and go pick out this and go pick out that, and I don't want to get into all the details. That's what a lot of dudes be like. I don't want to get into all the details, especially when it comes to home renovations and stuff like that, or if the wife is good at that, or if the husband don't feel like dealing with all the detail. Just tell me what you want me to do. I'll either pay for it to get done, or this, that, and the third. When you are a leader and you're trying to initiate and maintain your leadership, that hands-off approach makes your partner feel like you are throwing them out there and you're not being supportive. You're not providing the guidance. You're not providing the leadership that they need. But all you need to do is know this triangle is going to cost more time. It's going to cost more money, and depending upon the quality that we want. And then you say, okay, this is the budget that we have. This is how much time I wanted to spend. I'm going to do it over the weekend. I don't want it to last more than this. Let's discuss how we're going to do this. And then and you don't know anything else. But that is how you initiate structure and how you establish and maintain leadership throughout the process. Hope that makes sense. Okay. So initiating structure. So doing task-oriented goals together while dating or engaged helps you learn how to work together, helps you learn each other's strengths and weaknesses, and who should take on what roles, and it reveals your biases, prejudices, selfish ambition, presuppositions, and the ability to compromise. What I talk about in the book is when you are dating or getting to know one another in the dating and engaged space. It's really helpful in the dating and engaged space. You need to do task-oriented projects often because these things are what gets fettered out in that process. You have how you all work together, the things that you all do, and how you are able to manage tasks and manage conflict or manage communication in those process. The strengths that you have, the strengths and weaknesses that you have. You know that you're good at planning. You're good at the doing, and she's good at the planning. So that allows you all to identify what roles you will have in your relationship as you move forward. There's a couple that we worked with, and when we were doing their premarital counseling, it was said that he would do the planning, and she would be the help, and they would do all these different things together, and he would be the one who led things, and she would be the one who supported. That's what they said on paper, because that's what the Bible says, and that's what everybody says, and that's what they were like, we're going to do all this. When they were sharing that with me, I was like, okay, good, let's write this down. Knowing that there was going to be a shift. I didn't know what the shift was going to be. I'm not going to act like I knew what was going to happen. But I knew that there would be a change. So after they'd been married for 2 years and we were still working with them, what came out was that he's a horrible planner, but he's very good at doing things. So she would plan out the things that they were supposed to do, and he would just do them, like boom, and get them done. He may have had some input on the budget and the cost and the time frame, but whatever she wanted, whatever furniture she wanted, she would buy it and he'd put together. He would do construction, built a room in the house, all the things. So he was really good at that. He was also not good at communicating plans with the family. She was very good at communicating plans for the family. So what we ended up doing was saying, whenever your family reaches out to you to plan anything, you direct them to your wife. She is going to be the one responsible for, she's going to be the one responsible for putting that on the calendar, making sure that you all are going to be there, making sure that there's food or whatever gifts they need to bring or whatever they need to bring. She's going to be responsible for all of that. But what was causing a problem was that he would like, okay, yeah, sure, no problem. And then he would forget to tell her, and then, or he wouldn't give her all the details. And so she would get there and it looked like she didn't do what they asked her to do. So that's working together and doing these task-oriented projects or things while you are dating and engaged helps you identify those strengths and weaknesses so that you can figure those out in advance. Who should take on what roles, like I said, and it reveals your biases, your prejudices, your selfish ambitions, your presuppositions, and the ability to compromise. That's a lot that's right there. But I'll just basically say, to cover all of that, the things that you assume or the things that you expect based upon your presuppositions, you move and make decisions based upon that. And you don't know that they're assumptions until your expectations are not met. And when those expectations are not met, you feel some type of way about it. But what that reveals is you do have presuppositions and expectations that are not met. And so what is the process for communicating this in, I guess, post issue, but in the future, before you set these expectations? So you can set expectations and you can have these things that you want to accomplish that you have presuppositions for. But as you begin to learn that your presuppositions are causing problems, they're causing unrealistic or unmet expectations on both parties, you have to do a reset and say, okay, there's certain things that I am assuming that are supposed to be done, but obviously he or she does not feel that way. So let me step back and say, okay, what is it that I need to look at that I can make sure that I go forward and I communicate what my expectations are in advance, so that I don't set myself up for failure, or I don't set him up for her up for expectations that they're not going to be able to meet. So you do these things in advance. So God won't trust your relationship with the rich, purposeful intentions of his kingdom without first testing you and your mate to see if your relationship can persevere through problem solving and accomplishing these goals. And we talked about this in the last video, where we talked about God's testing process and what he sends you through, what he sends your relationship through, what he sends you individually through and your relationship through, before he can trust that you are going to handle his precious resources with care and intentionality, the way that he wants you to handle them, not the way that you want to. So this phase that you go through in your relationship, where you're doing task-oriented things together while dating or engaged, is that proving ground. It's that training ground where you all work out the kinks, and then you're putting yourself in a position where God will be able to trust you some more. Okay. What is going on? Sorry. So question: when you were dating, what did you work together to accomplish goals and solve problems reveal? What did working together to accomplish goals and solve problems reveal about you and reveal about you and your mate? I'm asking that question. You can put it in the chat if you like, so that you can think about, okay, what was that problem? If you're married. If you're not married, you can even look back at your relationship now and say, okay, what is it that you did when working together that revealed about something about you and revealed something about your marriage? I'm thinking about when I saw that question, I was like, oh, for me, it was before I got married, I thought that I knew everything. I thought I knew how everything was going to work. And that revealed a level of, I don't know if it was arrogance or pride. I would say pride. I would lean more on pride than arrogance, because I did not, in hindsight, I did not move in an arrogant way, like I'm right. I moved in I know what I'm doing. I know what to do. And when things didn't work, I was like, okay, let me reset. I was quick to reset when things did not work, but I did have a plan on what to do. And for the first 3 years, I was good. I knew what I was doing. And so that revealed to me that I was prepared. But now that you're married, what has marriage revealed about you and your mate? So when we first got married, what that revealed was that I was prepared. But then after 3 years, what it revealed was that I don't know what I'm doing now. Now that the basics is over, now that we've moved to a place where it was really interesting, because when we first got married, and I told the story before, I was paying my taxes, and I was late on my taxes, and so they garnished my wages. And this was month 3. This was month 3. 3 months into our marriage, they garnished my check. My check was $300, and they didn't tell me. And then I went to HR the next day, and they were like, "Yeah, they garnished your check." And I was like, "But can I get that money back?" He was like, "No." So they garnished my check for 3 paychecks. So that set us back financially for 3 years. It took us literally 3 years to get out of that hole. And my car broke down at the same time. So we had 2 cars beforehand. And now my car broke down, so now we're down to 1 car. So we were going to have, 2 income, 2 car, single family home that I lived in, little small 2-bedroom joint, down to a 1.5 income and 1 car. And now our bills are behind. So that was in the beginning of our marriage, but I kind of knew how to lead us through that, and we paid off all of our debt in 3 years. And we were debt free except for our mortgage, and we were like saving $3,000 a month. This is like 2000, so that was a lot of money. And mortgage was stupid low, and we were living high on the hog. But I felt like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing now. Now that I don't have these problems to work through, now it's like, okay, we're trying to build and grow, and I didn't know how to build and grow. I didn't know how to scale. So what it revealed is that I don't know what I'm doing. So I faked it for 3 years. I faked it for 3 years until I was like, I need to go back to school and get some more education because I'm out here faking it, and I know I'm faking it, and she doesn't realize it yet, and then she's gonna find out. So it realized what that revealed about me at that point was that I had to, in order to actually be a good leader, I had to go learn how to lead, and that's why I went back to school and studied organizational leadership and so forth. But let me read this point. This is an important question regarding your leadership because initiating roles and responsibilities is about the interaction within a group of two or more people. And based on a couple's interaction with one another determines one's willingness to one, assign the roles and responsibilities, two, accept the assignment of the roles and responsibilities by the one who initiates them, three, maintain those roles and responsibilities, and or number four, maintain the relationship with the person. So it's really about the interaction that you have with that person, and that's what the research of the 50s that Hammonds and Hemphill did. The interaction that you have with one another throughout these task-oriented projects, throughout the conflict being raised and being resolved, throughout the learning one another, throughout the struggles, throughout the doing things together, the interactions that you have with one another throughout that are determining whether your relationship is going to fail or succeed. That's basically what I'm saying. So you have to make sure that you're intentional about how you interact with one another as you learn one another or as you grow together and as you practice these roles and responsibilities that you all are deciding yourselves amongst yourselves to do together. So leadership is not gender specific. He can be the leader or she can be the leader. But in a biblically structured marriage, the role of leader has been delegated to the male. And I'm going to page 112 of my book because I wrote this in here and I can't articulate it better. So I'm just going to read it. So remember in the first chapter of Genesis, God gave the common goal of filling, subduing, and ruling to both man and woman. But he put in the garden first. He put man in the garden first and gave him the responsibilities to initiate roles. Adam named all the animals and worked the fields and cultivated the ground. Even when Eve showed up on the scene after a good night's sleep, he initiated structure and created her role. Adam wakes up from a good night's sleep, and before him stands a naked woman. Up until now, he's seen nothing but plants and animals. For the first thing he says is, "This is now bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. She should be called woman, for she is taken out of man." It's crazy how he called her this. Adam initiated structure by creating her role. He initiated structure by creating her role. But it didn't stay that way for long. As Bass correctly assessed, maintaining your role is necessary if you are to maintain leadership. Adam failed to do that when he allowed Eve to lead him into eating the fruit of the tree from which God told him not to eat. And we all know what happened next. I point out that it was Adam who was supposed to be leading Eve by saying, we're not supposed to eat this fruit. And when Eve grabbed the fruit and said, let's eat this, and gave it to Adam, Adam followed Eve. He did not lead, he followed Eve. And what he should have done was say, no, we're not going to eat this fruit, throw this away, stop talking to this dude. Who is this dude, Satan, anyway? This little serpent looking dude, no arms laying on your belly type of dude. You should have kept moving. But he didn't do that. So he gave up that role, but it was his responsibility to do that. That was his role. And now it's interesting because God didn't say to Adam, like, you are the leader. He did, but he gave Adam the responsibility of initiating the roles and responsibilities of the area where he was to have dominion. That was one of the things I struggled with, like when I was first coming up in church, and they were like, the man is the leader, the man is the leader. And I was like, but the Bible doesn't say the man is the leader in the Old Testament. But then when I was doing research on this, the roles that he gave Adam indicated that he was the leader. He was supposed to be leader. And later on, it talked about in Genesis chapter 3, when the punishment came down, what happened was the authority that Adam did not have, Eve became subject underneath him, and that was one of the punishments of Eve because of the sin. Adam had to work hard for the ground. Eve was going to be stricken with pain during childbearing, and her desire was going to be to serve underneath the man. Men are responsible for being the leader in a marriage. That leadership begins by initiating and maintaining the roles and responsibilities. But some wives are better leaders than their husbands. Yes, they are. They are designed to be helpers and are skillful in those areas. Very much so. But that doesn't absolve the husband of the responsibility. He still has to be the leader. It does not change the structure of the marriage. Wives, you may feel like you have to take over and lead for safety and security purposes, but God still looks at the structure as he originally created it. I stated that in the book because I wanted to address the feeling that wives feel that if the man's not leading, then she has to, which I understand. I definitely understand, but that does not change the structure of the marriage. That changed the interaction between the two of you all, but the way that God has created it, he don't be changing stuff like that. It's still the same. So in Ephesians 5 and Ephesians 6, it talks about the different roles and responsibilities of husband and wife, right? And in those verses, we all heard the scripture about child, obey your parents. There's that is the same verse of scripture. This in 6, I think 1, starting 6 verse 1. They talked about the parent and the child relationship, and in Ephesians 5 and 22, it says that submit yourselves one to another. And what he's talking about hierarchical relationships. So in the parent-child relationship, it talks about the parents taking the parent-child relationship, taking care of your parents, and your children being grown. Oh, that's right. Sorry. It's talking about the parents, don't exacerbate your children, and children submit to your parents as unto the Lord. That is the parent-child relationship, which is a hierarchical relationship. But the submission factor is parents, don't be exacerbating your children by being too harsh on them. And children, you have to obey your parents. In the employee-boss type of relationship, and that's when they talk about slave master, do this. Slaves work as unto the Lord, and don't be lying and cheating and stealing and stuff like that. The Heath version of it. And then it talks about masters, do not be harsh to your servants, and treat them fairly, and don't show favoritism. That is a hierarchical relationship, the boss and then the employee. And the submission factor is y'all should be employees working unto the Lord and making sure that you do a good job and don't be lying, cheating, and stealing. And the submission factor for the boss to the employee is don't be out here cheating and stealing and showing favoritism and being harsh to the employees. So that those two hierarchical relationships are the same. That other hierarchical relationship that kicks the whole thing off in Ephesians 5 is the husband and wife relationship. And the wife's relationship is responsible for submitting to the husband, and the husband is responsible for submitting to the wife by loving her as Christ loved the church, giving himself up for her, and washing her with the water, and then presenting her back to himself. That is the husband's level of submission to the wife. And no one ever questions whether you are a child and whether you're a parent, and whether you no longer have to submit to your parent. Even as a grown person, when your parent asks you to do something, you still understand that level of authority is there. even now, as you know, I'm taking care of my dad. He's 88 years old, and if you are been in a situation where you're taking care of your parents, you know, you kind of are parenting them and taking care of them like they took care of you, but they're still your parents. When they tell you that they need you to do something or they want you to do something, you still act like you the child and you get it done, even though you have more responsibility. That same thing happens, or and I'll use the example for work. If you are in a work situation, your boss asks you to go to a meeting for them, or they're going to be on vacation, so they want you to act in their stead while they're gone, and you take over their office, you come back and be like, well, I thought you was gone, well, you was gone rather, so I decided to take over. No, no, you didn't. No, get out of my office, go back to your desk, and give them your report of everything that you did while you were here. They're still the boss, even though you're acting in their stead. And there's no expectation that there is going to be a role reversal that you control. The same thing happens in a marriage when the wife feels like, oh, this man is not leading me correctly, and the husband is not doing what he should be doing for the family, and she feels like she has to take over. She may step in, take over, run things, but the authority structure did not change. I want to be clear about that. That authority and that ranking did not change, even though the interactions between them changed, because sometimes wives are better leaders than the husbands. But some men don't lead, I said. Some men don't initiate the roles and responsibilities or tasks, task-oriented goals. They don't have input on whatever is going on. They have abdicated their role and responsibilities, and they're subsequently taxing their wives. So I want to acknowledge that women may have the interaction where the man is not a good leader and she's a better leader and he's doing all these things. But I also want to acknowledge that God does not change the structure of your relationship because these things exist. Private discussion. Do you know any examples of families where a man didn't lead? What was the impact of that family? I asked this question to a group of people, and when I was reviewing this for the first time, and they provided some very interesting stories. You can share some of your stories if you'd like to in the comments, but you don't have to if you don't want to. I understand if that's personal. Okay, so some men are leaders, but they're bad leaders. And in the book, I have 4 different archetypes of leaders that I discussed. My way man, I got that guy. I got this guy. Don't worry about it, dude. And I'm sorry, man. And so we're going to go through each of them. My way man. Let's discuss what he is. He's overbearing. He's controlling. He's insensitive. He's argumentative. He's uber opinionated. He puts little value in his mate's opinions, and he's very selective when he listens. And on page 117, I gave a quick description of that. The problem with my way man is that he expects he expects trust that he has not earned, a blind trust of sorts, but he doesn't receive it because he puts little value in the opinions of his mate. In his mind, he does value her opinions and input, but to a very small degree and only in certain matters. That's why he'll sometimes act like he's listening so he won't appear rude or dismissive, but she can tell he's not really listening, and that's because he listened to that's because he listened to as much as he deemed her input important. Because she doesn't feel valued, she doesn't trust or respect him, nor does she want to follow him. I read that again. Because she doesn't feel valued, she doesn't trust or respect him, nor does she want to follow him. That my way man is, and I came up with these 4 different archetypes through the years of research that I was doing with couples and the work that I've done, and these seem to hold true. We even had a group discussion, and I was when I presented this, Uh, I asked, does anybody recognize with any one of these? And one guy said, I think I'm my way man. I was like, oh wow, interesting. And sure enough, he was. He acknowledged it, and he was actually true. Um, but if you were working with this man, well, I'll talk about that, if bad leaders, and what to do about that later. Okay, the next person is I got this guy. See, I got this guy claims he's got everything under his control or under control. His solutions cause more problems. He rejects assistance. He projects competence and or confidence, but really he's insecure. And he dreads looking incompetent or stupid in front of other people. He's always got this, I know, I got this, I got this. No, I'm gonna handle it, I'm gonna handle it. But sir, you're not. You're not handling it. You're not handling it at all. Here's what I wanted, the part I wanted to read. Although there is debate over, Maslow, I'm talking about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the 5 hierarchical needs that motivate human behavior. Um, the fourth he identified is the need for esteem, which is the feeling of self-esteem, competence, achievement, adequacy, accomplishment, and respect for others. Although there is debate over the hierarchical sequence of these needs, research has proven that the needs for belonging and love are critical components of a man's happiness. Maslow's theory confirms that if a man feels these things from his mate, then he will feel self-confident, have high self-esteem, and he will be willing to cooperate with others while working on different tasks. However, if he doesn't feel this esteem, then he will have feelings of inadequacy, dread criticism, resist any situation that brings his competency into question. It's these feelings that lead him to mask any situation where he doesn't know what to do. I got this is his way of saying, I don't know. I don't want to admit I don't know. I'll eventually figure it out. So leave me alone until I do. But what eventually and inevitably happens is he takes the relationship on a roller coaster while he experiments with the solutions, with solution after solution. And that's one of the challenges of I got this guy. Let's go to the next one. Don't worry about a dude. Don't worry about a dude is non-communicative. He doesn't like talking about it. He doesn't want to talk much, in fact. He's hard pressed to share his thoughts. He makes decisions without prior discussion or input from his mate. And here's what I wrote about don't worry about a dude. Let's see, 120. It's on page 120. I got this guy doesn't want to talk about solving a problem because he doesn't know. But don't worry about it, dude. What am I doing? Yeah. I got this guy doesn't want to talk about solving a problem because he doesn't know. But don't worry about it, dude, doesn't want to talk about how to solve a problem because he just doesn't feel like talking about it. He's that dude that is generally non-communicative. He keeps his thoughts to himself. He generally doesn't share his decisions or how he came to his decision. He just decides what to do and does it. He's hard pressed to share his thoughts about any particular issue, but when pressed, he'll give some generic answer followed by, don't worry about it. And that's the don't worry about it dude. I know several of these dudes that be struggling. It's a struggle working with being with these dudes and having to manage the activities that you all are working together toward, because he just doesn't communicate, doesn't see the value in it, and doesn't want to. The last one is I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry, man. That's hilarious. I'm sorry, man. He's deliberate and decisive. He's a deliberate and decisive decision maker. He doesn't gauge the impact of his actions, though. He's like a bull in the china shop. Think, act, wreck, apologize, repeat. He's always causing havoc and chaos. And he's like, oh, my bad, my fault. I didn't know. I'm sorry. He'll apologize, and he means it. But it's like he doesn't have a awareness of that he's a bull in a china shop and he's causing carnage. And then when it happens, he'd be shocked. Here's what I wrote about. I'm sorry, man. This man moves with purposeful intent. He is deliberate and decisive. However, when he makes decisions, he takes little to no care of the impact his actions will have on others in a relationship, or he fails to fully assess the impact before proceeding. Think of a bull in a china shop, and when the damage is done, he is shocked and confused how the carnage he left in his wake got there. That's when he hits you with the sad face and says, I'm sorry. Yeah, so these are archetypes of leaders who are bad leaders. Remember, I talked about leadership is not direction specific or character specific. You can be a good leader or a bad leader. These are men who are bad leaders. So messages to bad leaders and women dating them. Don't get married yet. Don't get married yet. Yeah. If you are married, hold that thought. But your understanding and your willingness is not. Oh, let me read this. Sir, you are not ready for marriage yet. Your peace and your level of drama is solely contingent on your understanding of what you need to change about yourself, your willingness to make that change, and your ability to adapt and adjust. So your willingness, your understanding and your willingness is good. You may understand you need to change, you may be willing to change, but that's not enough. You must be able to make the change necessary, and you must be able to adapt and adjust. It is not sufficient for you, and I've seen it so many times where someone will say, oh yeah, I understand, yeah, I need to make these, I need to change, I need to communicate more, I need to do this, I need to do that. And they acknowledge the problem that they have, the damage that they've caused, and the need to change. But then when we meet again, there has been no changes made. Even when we give them changes to make, there has been no changes made. So what I was saying in my book is that it's not acceptable for you to say, yeah, I know I need to change, but you do not have the capacity to do that. You are not doing it. If you are not going to make the change, then your peace and your tranquility will be forever compromised, and you will not find any kind of peace or sanctity in your relationship, because that your spouse, your mate, is not going to give you any. So you should not get married yet, sir, until you have come to a level of understanding about what it is that you need to change, and you are actually making the moves to change. I know for me, one of the things when I was single and I wanted to get married, I knew that I would wreck the life of whoever I got in a relationship with, because I knew what I was doing, and it just wasn't good. And I was like, I will wreck somebody's relationship. And so there were people who I liked, and I was like, ooh, I probably would date this person, but I can't date them right now because I'm not ready, and I will wreck their life. And I respect them too much to do that to them. And so it took me 2 years to actually to clean myself up and get myself to a space where I was like, okay, now I can actually entertain someone and date that person. So yeah, you need to make sure you do that. If not, I can nearly guarantee you both will be living miserably ever after. Ma'am, give him some grace. If you're dating somebody that's one of these bad leaders, give him some grace. Make sure you're comfortable with his ability to adapt and adjust. And I say give him some grace because this stuff ain't gonna be happening overnight. He ain't gonna make these changes overnight. If you're in a relationship with him and he's worth your time, and you like him and you want to build something with him, or you love him and you want to build something with him, then give him grace to grow. Don't expect the changes to be made at your pace and according to your engagement schedule. And that's facts, because his pace of growth is his pace. If he's taking too long, you need to decide if he's worth the wait or if you need to move on. and that's not an easy decision, but that's something that you need to decide. But don't just move forward um, when he's not ready, and don't pressure him to grow at a pace that he can't grow at. I'm not giving him a pass to just to be like, yeah, I'm just figuring it out, and they're not taking any accountability toward growing. But that's why I said you have to make sure you're comfortable with his ability to adapt and adjust. If you see that he's making strides, if he's doing things, then be cool with that. And I think it's fair for you to accept that that's what he's going to be able to. That's what he's doing. So next is the 3 steps, and we're finishing up. Okay, yeah, we're almost done. Finishing up these 3 steps for initiating the roles. Number 1 is to assess the scope of the problem or task-oriented problem, task-oriented goal rather. So what does that mean when you set the scope? I told you about scope earlier, but the first thing you do when you are presented with a task-oriented goal, the first thing you do is shut up. You just shut your mouth. Keep your mouth closed. Don't say a word. Do not start thinking out loud. Do not start thinking and sharing with her your thoughts and ideas that you haven't thought about yourself. One of the biggest mistakes that leaders make is they share the thoughts that they haven't thought to themselves yet. I wrote a ebook, and I think I titled it thinking like a boss and not an intern. Yeah, thinking like a boss or leading like a boss and not an intern. When you are trying to like work out a problem or work through your thoughts, if you are sharing those thoughts out loud to the person who you're trying to lead, you are opening yourself up to an opening. And hear me what I'm saying, because this may sound controversial, but you are opening yourself up to the person who you're leading, seeing your incomplete thoughts and incomplete ideas, and you may have to change something that you said or retract something that you said, and what you're opening them up to is the vacillation and the unassurity, the unknowing, the I don't know what's going on side of you that is disclosed to them while they're trying to follow that. While they're trying to look to you as leadership, you're disclosing to them that you don't know what you're doing. Now, I'm not saying that you have to know what you're doing. I'm saying that you're disclosing to them that you don't know what you're doing and you're trying to figure it out. And you want them to lead you. You want to lead them when they see that you don't know what you're doing. That's a dangerous thing to do while you are still working out the kinks. Because when that person is looking at you and they're hearing what you think, and they're hearing how you process information, and they're hearing how you analyze things, they may question, if they know the answer that you don't, they may question whether you're a good leader. They may question whether they want to follow you or not. They may question whether you're stupid, whether you actually know what you're talking about, because you are out here thinking out loud without any kind of organization to your thoughts. So keep your mouth closed when you are trying to initiate a task. That's why I talked about earlier. I talked about you had that triangle and the quality, time, and quality versus cost. Think about that stuff first in yourself. Think through the scope of the problem. That's what you want to do. You want to think through the scope of the problem first. What is the expected outcome? Here's what you need to ask yourself. What is the expected outcome? And what is the very next thing that needs to happen? What is the expected outcome? And what is the very next thing that need to happen? You don't have to have the answer to that. But when you're thinking like, and you're processing like a boss instead of an intern, you at least know what the outcome is going to be. Be like, we want to go here. We want to paint the living room this color. I want it to look nice. I want to do this, that, and third, and I want it to be done in this time frame, and I want to spend about around this much on it. That's you've thought through the scope, and those are your feelings and thoughts that you have concluded, and then you communicate that. But we're not talking about communication yet. Communication is the next chapter. We're not there yet. But what you need to do is think through the expected outcome and what the very next thing that needs to happen is. You don't have to have the answer to all that. Then that's step number one. Step number two is to initiate the roles and responsibilities, or initiate the roles. The first thing that you do is stay shutting up. Don't say a word. If you have the scope of the idea and you know what it is that you want to say, shut up. Don't say nothing. You want to think through who's going to do what. What are you going to do? What am I going to do? Actually, what you need to do is you need to first determine what I'm going to do. And that is a big deal, because as a leader, you want to always know what your role is first. You want to know what you're supposed to do first, because that determines what it is that you're not doing and what it is that the other person would need to do or can do, or what you may need help to get done. But you always want to know your role first. And then you want to determine what roles and responsibilities others would do. So note that these roles you just initiated are preliminary. You have not vetted them through your mate. And this is why I'm saying shut up. Don't say nothing yet, because you need to understand that what it is that I'm thinking that we want to do. I want to paint the living room, or we want to go on vacation, or we want to take a trip, or we want to plan a wedding, or we want to, whatever it is, we want to have a child, whatever it is that you want to do. Think through the scope. What is the scope of everything, and then what is the very next thing that is going to happen as a result of this, and then what is my role in this? What is my role and what is my responsibility in this? And then based upon that, you'd be like, okay, well then I think that she can do this, or if but because you've been practicing these task-oriented projects, you know the strengths and the weaknesses now, right? Because we talked about that. You can say, okay, I think that she can do this, or maybe she might not want to do that, but she's real busy at work and she's kind of tired, or that's not her gift, or maybe we need to hire somebody to do that, but we don't got that much money. You need to have all these thoughts going in your head before you say a word, sir. I'm talking about being a leader. I'm talking about being someone that is going to be responsible for. My lips white? My goodness. Told you I ain't had no water. My throat is dry. My lips is white. That's terrible. Hope that didn't show up too bad on camera. But you need to be responsible for. You're responsible for initiating roles and maintaining it. So to do that, you want to make sure you thought through all these things. What is the end goal? What is the time frame, the expected outcome, the cost associated with it, the quality that you want, and then how much is it going to be involved? I don't really know much of all the answers, but I know that I want to do this, or I don't want to do nothing. Even if I don't want to do anything, I know I don't want to do nothing, and let me see what she can do. She probably wants to be involved in this. Let's see what role she wants to carry, and then how much it's going to cost. I'm definitely going to pay somebody to do this, because I don't feel like doing nothing. Like at this house here, I don't cut the grass no more. I just don't do it. So I know I'm paying somebody to do it, but I will trim the bushes. So, okay, we got to shut up. So you need to have all that stuff down in your bag. Then number 3 is you initiate the discussion. You initiate the discussion. And the first step in initiate discussion is hush. Don't say a word. You are not talking yet. You are not talking yet when you initiate the discussion. Initiate the discussion is, what is the best time to initiate discussion? That's the first consideration that you need to make. When is the best, given the scope of what it is you want to talk about, her emotions related to that, how long this is going to take. You need to know, okay, what is the length of this discussion? Where do we want to have this discussion? Can we have this discussion in a car, or do we need to be home? Do we need to be on the phone? Can we have this discussion over text? Is that a safe space? Is that going to cause more problems than it's worth for me having a conversation over text versus me having a conversation on the phone versus us going out to eat to discuss it versus me going over there or she coming over here to discuss it? You need to think through all that. I'm talking about communicating and being a leader in your relationship. These are the things that the first 3 steps that you need to do to initiate the roles. You need to initiate the discussion. And that's considering all these things. Note, Have a predetermined fail-safe plan for handling situations when you don't have time to talk. Whew, this is good. This is some veteran move right here. This is a veteran move. Um, when you don't, if you get caught off guard, if you get caught in a situation where you're not ready to have the discussion because you haven't done these 3 steps, and she's asked you, "Well, when are we going to talk about this? I know you said you wanted to do that, or when can we get back to this?" But you're not ready to have the discussion because you haven't thought through the full scope of everything yet. You need to have a fail-safe. You need to have a fail-safe phrase or word or something to say that in advance for when you're not ready to have the discussion. So, for example, if my wife were to ask me something about something that I'm not prepared to talk about, that's a good point. Let me circle back with you on this date or tonight, and we'll discuss that later. That does 2 things. It, one, gets me off the hook from having to talk about it right now. 2, it sets the expectation. I'm still initiating the roles. I'm initiating responsibilities. I'm carrying out. I'm maintaining the role of leading. I'm giving her a time of when I'm going to follow back up with her. Now, remember I talked about if you do not maintain the role, then you have abdicated that leadership role. If you do not maintain that responsibility, you've abdicated that. So if I don't follow up with her and she has to follow up with me, then I've abdicated my leadership role, and now she's taking it on by bringing it back up to me. Now she's initiating it again. So the point is, if you do not have, if you are not prepared or ready to talk about something or say something and you get caught off guard, have something in your back pocket that you can pull out and be like, okay, we're going to talk about this at another time, this specific time, or tomorrow. And even if you're not ready to talk about it then, just be like, oh yeah, I know I said I was going to get back to you tonight, but can we do this next week? I just got a lot going on. I'm definitely going to follow with you. I'm thinking about it. I haven't forgot about it. I just want to let you know. That is more leadership that you're providing, because you are initiating the role and the responsibility. That we're going to suspend the conversation for tonight, and then we're going to move that down the road a week for us to have more have that full conversation then. Even if she'd be like, but what about, I need to get this. I know we said you was going to, but I need to make these decisions, blah, blah, blah. I understand that. Okay, maybe we can do it, on Saturday, this weekend. Or, yeah, I know that, can you push that back? I'm really busy. Whatever the reason, have something in your back pocket that you can say very, very quickly, so that you're not feel like you're being caught off guard. That lets her know that you have not forgotten about it. You are still leading. You are still doing the things, and you are in a good space for her to still follow your lead. The end for this. So that is the end of this. Hope this was helpful. Hope this was beneficial to you all. Don't leave yet, because Black Family Check-In, if you don't know what this is, Black Family Check-In is where we check in with everybody who is in our close circle, make sure that they're good because of everything that's going on in the world today, and all the stuff that's going on, how AI is affecting everybody and everything. Government shutdown is going on. We want to make sure that people aren't out here suffering alone, suffering in silence, and we want to make sure that people who are in your close circle are being looked after and being checked on. So what I've put together is a Black Family Check-In, which is a check-in of emojis. So just send your people in your close circle, and your close circle is identified, the people up here. Send people in your close circle the check-in emojis, the earlobe, and then you want to give a thumbs up if everything's all good. Thoughts and prayers, and the exploding head emoji and the praying hands emoji. If you they need thoughts and prayers. If you're not good, give the thumb down emoji, and then if they send a SOS signal, then that means you need to show up, with some equipment. I just want to give a report on me and mine. Thoughts and prayers. Government shut down. Supposed to get paid on Friday. I don't know if I'm going. If they don't open the government, then I won't be getting paid. Bernie and I and it's our anniversary. Our anniversary is on Friday, and we're not. I don't know if we're going to be getting paid or not. So yeah, thoughts and prayers for us, please. Other than that, we're doing well. Bernie and I are doing well. My dad, he's doing well. He has cancer, so I'm caring for him, but he's doing well. His spirits are up. He has a experimental medicine that he's taken, so I'm happy about that. And that's not making him worse, I'll say. Seems to be making him better a little bit. But we're doing that, and so we're good with that. So yeah, so make sure you check in with your peoples, check in with your close circles, because we want to make sure that they're good. The next is chapter 6 and 7, which are combined together. Now we start. If you thought this was heavy, chapter 6 and chapter 7 and chapter 8 and chapter 9, the rest of the book is crazy. The rest of this book gets crazy, and I really, 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 really recommend this book for people who are trying to be aspiring leaders in their relationship. Let me get this. Trying to be leaders in their relationship for men, because I talk about stuff in here that I have not heard when I was coming up in marriage and trying to get married and engaged, nor after I got married. I did not hear about this, and I have not heard about these dynamics since I've been married. I'm, to my knowledge, and I be researching. No one is addressing leadership from the dynamic that I've addressed in this book. I'm not even trying to flex. I'm just trying to encourage you all to either tap into this the next several chapters, or get the book itself. It's in the link in the description, and read it, because it is really, really helpful. The process, communicate, the process of influence. Remember, I told y'all to be quiet, don't say nothing. Now you're gonna start talking, but you're gonna start talking very strategically. You're gonna start talking to influence, and the process of influence is a serious topic, and you cannot talk about influence without talking about power. And nobody that I know has talked about power. Nobody that I've read or researched have talked about power, and how power is used in a relationship the positive way, and how power can be used to influence and persuade. And I go into deep detail about what these concepts are and how they work in relationships, and how you use them when you're trying to lead, not in a coercive or a dictatorial type of way, but in a understanding, in a logical, progressive, understanding way, so that you know exactly how to lead. That is why I'm teaching this topic, and that is why I'm very well versed in it. And the crux of all my education and all the work that I've done stems heavily from what I learned when I was researching these topics 10 years ago, and what I put into practice ever since then, and which is why I know all the things that I know about relationships, and the structure of it, and the context of it, and just by listening to couples and hear them talk, I can detect and dissect and understand deep inner workings of their relationship without them really having to divulge that to me. So please tap into this next series of videos, because we're going to be talking about the process of influence. We're talking about persuasion. We're talking about power. It's such a good, power was my favorite chapter in the book, because I didn't even know about it. I didn't even understand it until I was researching it, and I put it in the context of relationships, and then it was like a mind blow for me. So yeah, hope you tap in. So hope this was interesting for you. Click a like, and if you have not done, subscribe, so that you can get notifications for when we'll be putting out our next one. I think I'm gonna be doing it next week, or either the week afterwards. Next week, Bernie and I are speaking at a marriage retreat at our church. So we're getting prepared for that, which is going to be on Friday. So I should be able to do it, but if something happens and we got to get prepared, we already prepared, but if we have to do something for the marriage retreat, then I won't be able to do it next week. But either look forward next week or the week afterwards, definitely, for sure. All right, thank you all, and I'll see you on the next one.